Hassan and Aunt Basma were just like siblings to me. Queen Zain used to sit at the head of the table. I would sit here. And who would sit here with you? Of course, my aunt and Sharifa Fatima and my uncles. What time did you have lunch? Lunch was always at 1. Dinner, it was different. My aunt and I would have dinner late, and my nanny would read us stories before bed. And then my aunt would tell her, "Why do you keep repeating the same stories?" This was the more formal dining room. It would accommodate a larger number of family members, and it has its special. It has its special place. Once Aunt and I said we wanted to have lambs. I don't know why. One of them should be white and the other would be black. And then 2 days later, as we were coming to different, she was having her breakfast here, sitting just normally, and the lambs were sitting by her as if it's all normal. She was casually having her breakfast, and we were surprised to find the 2 lambs here. When there were celebrations, formal celebrations, and guests would come, we would see them from the windows, and then they would go to the main room to have the meal, and my aunt and I would be peeking from the windows, looking at all the people coming in with their gowns and everything. We spent a lot of time outdoors, and this is an area that is very well known. I mean, the palace is very well known, the structure of it, because so many ceremonies were conducted here. This is a pool that had fish, and this is the tree where Her Majesty would sit, under which and many people and anyone who wishes to meet with her would come here. The grandchildren would come here and have her company. Yes, we had at least once a week. We used to come here to meet my grandma. I would say this is one of the most beautiful interviews that is full of sentiments. Indeed, Zahran Palace has its special significance because so many ceremonies were conducted there, especially weddings here. The wedding of their Royal Majesties, it also happened here. Beautiful words by Her Royal Highness. Indeed, this is a palace that witnessed so many important occasions and ceremonies. A couple of days ago, we were at Zahran Palace, and we witnessed all the preparations, festive preparations, and today we see the wedding and the wedding of His Royal Highness and Rajwa Al-Hussein. We talk about the Royal Highness, His Royal Highness, the Prince Hussein. He's the Prince of Youth. This brings us closer. This video tells us more about him and brings us closer to him. Al-Hussein was born in Amman on June the 28th in 1994. And he was the firstborn of His Majesty King Hussein and Her Majesty Queen Rania. And he's the 42nd descendants from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Al-Hussein takes his name after his grandfather, so he continues his legacy in building homeland. His Royal Highness was raised by his parents and was nourished by their love and care, and he learned the love of homeland and he was assigned the the crown prince of Jordan, and he pursued his high school in King's Academy in 2012. He studied international history in Georgetown University at the USA, and he graduated in 2016. His Royal Highness graduated in 2017 from the Royal Military School, Sandhurst, in the United Kingdom, following the steps of his father and his grandfather. In 2021, the royal decree was issued to promote His Royal Highness to a significant military rank in the army. His Royal Highness accompanies His Majesty the King in formal official visits that he conducts around the world. And he was assigned by the king as the representative of the king, and he represented the king in several ceremonies and occasions and in international fora. Al-Hussein is keen on the constant and the contact with the people of Jordan and supporting them throughout the governorates. The Royal Highness institution was issued in 2015, so it is the umbrella under which the initiatives of His Royal Highness would run, and the Royal Highness was decorated with several decorations, and one of them is from Sweden and from Bahrain, and the Olaf from first degree from Norway, and the Independence Independence Declaration first degree, in addition to all his interests in serving the country. He loves everything that brings him closer to the skies of Jordan. And the sand and the grounds and sands of Jordan and the waters of Jordan today, he starts a new chapter in life, along with Miss Rajwa Khalid, and the whole country is celebrating this. So, at the age of 28, His Royal Highness chooses Ms. Rajwa, so they pursue the journey of serving Jordan. Ms. Rajwa was born in Riyadh in April 22, 1994. She is the daughter of Khalid bin Saad bin Khalil al-Saif and Ms. Azza Sdairi, and she pursued her high school education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and she pursued architect studies in New York at the USA. And she holds a professional specialization in multimedia communication from the USA, and her hobbies include drawing and horseback riding and developing architectural designs using digital multimedia. The origin of Saif family goes back to Asbe'a tribe, and they are the leaders of Al-Atiri tribe in Sder Najd as of the reign of King Al-Saud, Abdulaziz Saud, with the presence of His Majesty King Abdullah II and Her Royal Majesty Queen Rania Al-Abdullah on August 17, 2022. His Royal Highness got engaged to Miss Rajwa Khalid As-Saif. And after the henna party that was thrown by Her Majesty Queen Rania celebrating Rajwa's joining the royal family, we on June the 1st celebrate this wedding, sharing the happiness and festivities in the two countries, and people are cheering for Rajwa and Al-Hussein. This is happiness that we share throughout the country, and I would say in the whole world, celebrating these wedding ceremonies, and we shall follow up these celebrations in Amman, the path that was designated, and the people are gathering in different places, and the different music bands, military music bands are taking their places along that course, and everybody is waiting for the royal couple to come out after the marriage contract is signed, and the people are going to enjoy their celebrations. And let's learn more about His Royal Highness. It is our pleasure to have Dr. Yazan Abdo, the Islamic Education Studies, who taught His Royal Highness. Would love to learn from you about His Royal Highness throughout the period you taught him. I taught him for 4 years, one of the best, I must say. Let me say he is very special. He has so many pleasant traits. The first thing that you would always be impressed with is that he's very well composed and capable of smoothly taking decisions. Very personable. People feel they are so close to him. And another thing about him is something we always see, his love and his pleasant demeanor, dealing with everyone around them. Very pleasant traits His Royal Highness enjoys, and we say I would like to congratulate him. I remember in 2004 I read that as you were teaching him teaching him religious studies, do you remember certain things about His Royal Highness as you were teaching him? Can you remember him, the student? Can you tell us about it, and tell us about the activities that he enjoyed and how he enjoyed that? Indeed, so many, I would say. The ones I recall that we wanted to take a photo with the students one at a time. We would stand by the student closer to my office, and when it was his turn, he had me sit down. I said, why Hussein? And by the way, would never call him Your Royal Highness. And he had me sit, and he said, you're my teacher, so it is you who sit, and I stand by you. He was eighth grade. He was an eighth grader. This is just to show how personable and nice he is. And by the way, activities were something very important in education. The one that he loved most was the feast we would throw for orphans in Ramadan. He would be the first to show up before the meal and the feast. He would engage the children and would play with them. I would like to thank you very much for being with us today, and this coverage is live coverage for the Royal Highness's wedding. And indeed, yesterday there was this royal dinner. This is part of the Jordanian traditions, and His Majesty gifted the Crown Prince a gift. And now we'll talk about the symbol this bears. Arabs have always borne their swords, defending their lands and people. Hashims always thought of sword as the sign of strength and protectiveness, and this is the sword made in 1916, the year where the Arab Revolution started, and now it is in the custody of the Hashims as a symbol to remind us of a better tomorrow. Today, the king gifts the crown prince a sword that is similar and a replica of the sword of Abdullah I, just to represent the symbolism this has of hopes and aspirations. The sword was forged for 6 months. The stones that would be used for the extractions of the steel, the stones were collected from Ajloon, the castle of Salah ad-Din. Strong stones that speak for a very rich history. And the Zahr steel was extracted, and they were grounded, and kilns would be heated to a very high temperature, and those stones would be burnt for 7 years until the iron splits from the stones, and then al-Zahra steel would be extracted and cleaned from the particulars contaminated it, and materials are added to absorb all of particulars, and then it is added to the kiln for 4 hours, and then the surface where the contaminating particulars gathered are removed, and then the metal cake is extracted. Afterwards, the formation of the pole starts. It is heated till it is red, and then it is forged to look as it should, the sword looks, and then it is heated. It is knocked and melted and molded into the shape of the sword, and then it is polished, and it is polished until the final shape of the sword appears, and the sword is juxtaposed against 2 pieces of wood, and then these 2 pieces are brought together, and the product is covered with a leather cover, and the decorations are drawn on paper first, and then it was handcrafted and curved on the silver grip for the sword, and that was made with specific specifications. By the end of that, the parts of the sword are collected, so it is a replica of the sword of King Abdullah I, except for one curve that was added upon the request of His Majesty. It is the verse from the Holy Quran, if God have you prevail, no one would win over you. And on this occasion, Hussein, I would like to gift this Hashemite sword for you, which represents justice and protectiveness of our homeland. This is a sword replicating the sword of King Abdullah I. In all senses, it was designed and made over 6 months. The only difference is the holy Quranic verse that was added, which is إِنْ يَنْصُرُكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. Shall God have you prevail, then no one will have you not. And this was the symbolism of this sword that was gifted to His Royal Highness. It is a sword replicating the sword of His Majesty King Abdullah. This is a Hashemite tradition, and this is to be kept in the custody of the Hashemites. The original sword is to be kept according to the traditions with the Hashemites. Indeed, there are scenes that not everybody noticed or followed. The princes receiving and welcoming the guests of the Hashemites. They were there graciously and happily welcoming them, very happy at having them, and everybody's happy at the ceremony and the wedding. Watching the whole event showed us that every part of it has its own significance and symbolism, all taken from our Jordanian legacy and traditions. This is what we saw. I was not there with you yesterday at the Hashemites dinner, and there is one detail that I would like to share with you. Turfa Abedat is going to tell you the story of the shmagh that His Royal Highness wore yesterday. The shmagh of His Royal Highness is what I made. This is a handmade shmagh because I want it to be made by my hand. I wanted it to be perfect. My name is Tirfa Barakat Abedat. I decorate shmaghs and I have several handicrafts, and this is actually my hobby ever since I was a child. I've been working on this for 50 years. Everybody used to decorate the shmaghs, and I would just sit with them and see how they weave the threads around the shmagh, and I would follow them. In the beginning, it was not perfect, and then I started to make it perfect. First, you make the stitches, and you cut the ends with the scissors. Every time I saw the shmaghs worn by the Hashemites, I would say, I really wish that I would decorate the shmagh of one of the Hashemites. And when the cameraman shot me making the shmagh, he called me. You said, he called me saying, is that Tarfa? I would say, yes. He said, I would like to talk to you and I would like to visit you. I was really happy. I said, this is the wish I had. And by the way, every wish I have, it always comes true. And he came, His Royal Highness came to visit me, and I kissed him, hugged him, and I, through these songs and cheers around him, and I threw it on his shoulders, congratulating him, wishing him the perfect marriage, and wishing him happiness throughout life. And congratulations for you and for His Majesty. It made me feel very happy. And people came to ask, how come this happened? How did you get to be the one decorating his shmagh? I would say it's the mother decorating the shmagh of her own son. He is the groom of the Jordanians. A mother decorating the shmagh of her own son. So she received and welcomed His Royal Highness, and then she brought a urge and she gifted it to His Royal Highness. This urge is a coin, a gold coin that a mother gifts to her own son when they get married, and this is what she did. She gifted him this golden coin, and that was as she felt, because she felt that he was her own son. Let's talk about His Royal Highness as the soldier. I would like to welcome the so you were his companion in the military, in the army. Tell us about him as the vice head. Tell me, as you learned that as the vice head of the platoon. I would like to start congratulating all Jordanians. I would like to extend my greetings and congratulations to the Majesties on the occasion of the wedding of His Royal Highness. Indeed, His Royal Highness joined the platoon that is styled as the platoon of the royal platoon, and he was the assistant of the leader of the tank platoon. Ever since he started working there, he took the functions as the assistant of the head of the tank battalion, and as we worked with him, we learned a lot about him. And among the things that everybody loved about him is the high morale, his dedication upon doing his duties and functions. Working with him, we noticed how thorough he was. Whenever he's working, he would work within the rank he had, just like any other officer. This represents actually a dedicated military man that he actually inspired his colleagues with. And the ceremony thrown by his fellow army men was he is the son of the armed forces, and his fellow army men became his siblings. Al-Hussein loved the Jordanian armed forces as a child. He believed in the army as the protector of the homeland, and he believed in the comrades in arms. And on the day he turned 18, he did not wait, and he joined the armed forces on June the 28th in 2012. He wore the military suit, and this was the most precious birthday gift he had. He embraced all military values and dogma, including the determination, belief, and solitude, discipline, and firmness. And he acquired the knowledge and science from military schools in every training and by every trainer who taught him in the field. He was the brave soldier bearing the arms and the disciplined student, the hardworking student when learning. He was passionate in when training in the Special Battalion in 1971, and then he left to pursue his studies in Georgetown University. His plane was at 11, and he insisted that he would show up at 7 p.m. to witness and participate in the exercises, and then he joined the, he went to his flight. He worked in the different battalions, including intelligence and arms, and he was the head of the machinery battalion, and then the assistant of the leader of the military battalion, and he is the assistant of the leader of Battalion 1 in the Royal Platoon. No matter where he was and wherever his position was and the service and the function assigned to him, he would have this very strong bond with his comrade in arms who went through the good and the difficult together, and the memories will always be in their hearts. His Royal Highness has always been humble and modest, and he would always say, just deal with me and treat me as one of the members in this battalion. We once had a football match with him, a football match. Everybody said, we want the team of Al Hussein to win. He said, and he noticed that we want to have him win. Then he switched teams. This is how he was. He's a soldier out of thousands of Jordanian soldiers who love the soil of their lands and dedicated their lives to have the flag up representing the glory of Jordan. Captain Abdul Rahim, you have this special relation and bond with His Royal Highness as a comrade in arms. Tell us about the most significant traits, and we saw this relation you have with His Royal Highness. Of course, Prince Hussein, as he works, he does all the functions very actively, very enthusiastic. And he would be very enthused. He would all the trainings related to the tanks, very professionally indeed. He was not sufficed, and he did not only train on the specialized role as the leader. He also trained of all positions, the driver of the tank and the shooter. This would only be done by a very special soldier and a very successful professional tank captain. So tell us about this ceremony, the bridegroom shower. Yes, the bridegroom shower is one of the traditions that we have in every Jordanian household, especially those celebrating their bridegroom as his comrades in arms. We planned, along with the relatives of His Majesty, His Royal Highness, and his friends, and we planned for this. And the ceremony was at the house of Prince Faisal. This was a very nice gathering full of love, happiness, and spontaneity. And by the way, the bridegroom's shower is one of the last steps and occasion that a bridegroom have enjoying his or before he start his life as a married person, and we wish him a very happy marriage. Captain Abdul Rahim, it's only seconds before the arrival of His Majesty's arrival to Zahran Palace for the wedding, and we would love to thank you very much. We would like to greet you and all comrades in arms. Indeed, now we're going to show live scenes from Zahran Palace and the arrival of Royal Highnesses now to Zahran Palace. So we're following this live broadcast from the Zahran Palace, showing the arrival of Royal Highnesses to the palace, where the wedding and the marriage contract is going to be concluded, and we are anticipating the arrival of their Majesties and then the rest of the guests. There is this special relationship between His Majesty and his son, the Crown Prince. The following report shows this relation and highlights this relation of His Majesty with his firstborn. He is the secret of his father, following the steps of his father, enjoying the warmth of his father and the love that he's going to have and bear in his heart, sharing it with everybody around him. He's the secret of his father and the guard of his legacy and the bearer of the flag. He is the he's the grandson of Al-Hussein, having the honor of bearing that name. He is going to pursue the legacy and the dedication of His Majesty King Hussein. He saw his father as the brother of the Jordanians, a sword in the face of enemies, firm in crises and calamities. Al-Hussein grew and followed the approach of the army, Jordanian army, and now he and his father are comrades in arms. He learned they bore rifles, and the lovers of this land came around them, sharing love for this homeland. His Royal Highness, at any step he took, he saw his father as the role model, and now His Majesty's King Abdullah II, along with Her Majesty Queen Rania, arrive at Zahran Palace to welcome and receive the guests of the wedding. So as we saw, His Majesty King Abdullah II, Her Majesty Queen Rania, arrived at Zahran Palace to receive the guests and it's going to be for senior guests of the kingdom who came to Jordan to attend the wedding. Kings and presidents, from dignitaries from friendly countries, and members of the royal family. As I said, this ceremony is going to be exclusive for the dignitaries from the royal family. Prince Basma is welcomed and received. Yes, Tariq. Around 150 persons are going to be the guests attending the ceremony. To attend the wedding of His Royal Highness. We've been hearing about the delegations coming to Jordan, and this is the ceremony and the wedding that is celebrated not only on the Jordanian level, rather it is celebrated on the international level, and we shall see here how the dignitaries and the guests are received at and welcomed at Zahran Palace. So now we follow this live broadcast from Zahran, and the wedding is going to be at the gardens of the palace with beautiful greeneries. And we hear the music of the armed forces that is accompanying that is played in the background. And the guests are arriving at the palace to attend the wedding and the marriage contract and now these are the guests coming from friendly countries, coming from different countries, Arab and international, Denmark, Norway, Oman, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Bahrain, the United States, and from Cyprus, Bhutan, and several other countries. This is from Emirates, Egypt, Qatar, and Rwanda. The guests of Jordan are arriving at the palace of Zahran, talking about the balcony. The design of this balcony is congruent with the architectural design of the palace, which is representative of Arabesque, the Islamic decoration style. Indeed, the presence of guests from the Arab level and the international level, we see it now. We're following it from Zahran Palace. audience joining us now. We are following the ceremonies of the wedding. We mentioned some of the countries that came and arrived from Norway, Denmark, and different countries. Yes, and there is very important Arab presence from Egypt, from Qatar, friendly Qatar, and also from Iraq. And guests from Iraq are coming, Lebanon, guests from Lebanon, Kuwait, UAE, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Oman. In addition to the guests of Jordan who are going to attend the wedding ceremony. His Majesty's King Abdullah II and Her Majesty Queen Rania are welcoming their guests, several royal families members from friendly countries, from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Cyprus, guests coming from the United Kingdom, and from the United States, from Bhutan, Rwanda, Malaysia, Holland, the Netherlands, Spain, Brunei, and from the Republic of Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, and from Oman, the Sultanate of Oman, and from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As we know, His Majesty and Her Majesty have very friendly relations with people from Arab and foreign countries, and the presence of people representing these countries is indicative of the strong relations and the friendly relations their Majesties have with these countries. So the guests and dignitaries from friendly countries are arriving and being welcomed by their majesties. As mentioned, they come from Sweden, from Denmark, the United Kingdom, the Republic of Cyprus, and also guests and dignitaries. And Her Royal Highness Moza bint Nasser is now arriving at the wedding, the mother of the Prince of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim. So the majesties, their majesties are welcoming the guests, dignitaries coming from different countries, friendly countries. The Prince, His Excellency Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, the Prince and Princess of Wales. This represents the strength of the relation the royal family has with the United Kingdom and the British royal family. This extends over long years indeed, and we witnessed the arrival of Najib Miqati and Maidomani from Lebanon. Also, they just arrived to at the Palace of Zahran. This is indeed significant presence of guests from the countries of the world, and more are to come and are to arrive. And we hear the military music that we are used to hearing in such occasions. As we mentioned, the guests of Zahran continue to arrive. The majesties are receiving and welcoming the guests. The Spanish King Juan Carlos and Queen Sofia and we know that the relation between the Kingdom of Jordan and the Kingdom of Spain is a historic relation that goes back and goes way back, and the First Lady of Egypt arrives with her daughter Aya Assisi, and we recall that both also attended the royal wedding of Princess Iman. She was among the guests and attendees. Many friends from friendly countries are arriving to attend the royal wedding, and such attendance, in fact, confirms the status of Jordan and the love the world has for Jordan. The Iraqi president, and also the arrival of Paul Kagame and also Janet Kagame from the Republic of Rwanda. And now we witness the arrival of the king and the monarchs of the Netherlands, presents and attendees from all nationalities. His Majesty the Sultan of Brunei arrives at the wedding. A warm meeting with the King and Queen of Jordan. Guests and attendees coming from royal families from all over the world who have strong bonds and relations with Jordan, historic relations that dates and go back. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Khaled Al Nahyan. The guests from all over the world continue to arrive, and the guests are, and some guests are already there in the wedding. And now the arrival of Her Royal Highness Princess Iman and her husband Jamil Pramiotis. And we just saw their wedding a couple of months ago, 3 months actually. So we're awaiting the arrival of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince Al-Hussein bin Abdullah II. We await their arrival to the majestic palace, majestic Zahran Palace. So the ceremonies of the wedding start. Everybody is watching, anticipating these precious moments. The national wedding, the wedding of Jordan. Indeed, everybody is celebrating, gathering on streets, anticipating the arrival of the red procession. Everybody is happy and jubilant. they're anticipating this big day for days now. Indeed, Tariq and Muhammad, what we've seen, the guests coming from the different countries of the world, this is a testimonial to the long-standing relations Jordan has. The royal family, His Majesty, Her Majesty, His Crown Prince, who accompanies his father and His Majesty the King in different visits, formal visits that are quite significant, and we've seen on ground the attention everybody is giving to this royal wedding. We've seen that the media, international media, is observing and following the royal wedding arrangements and planning ceremonies. And several media outlets are broadcasting the live are sharing the live broadcast of the royal wedding. And among the guests who arrived, Jill Biden, the US First Lady, and she's going to stay in Jordan for a week indeed. Yes, she announced earlier that she would be visiting, and the procession of His Royal Highness Al Hussein is to soon arrive. Everybody's anticipating. And now so we are anticipating the arrival of His Royal Highness, and I think this is the US First Lady Jill Biden. So this is Jill Biden, the American First Lady. We talked about her arrival to Jordan and the fact that she has a week planned for her presence in Jordan. Ashley Biden is also with her. Joe Biden is not with them. The First Lady and Ashley Biden are among the guests. Historic relation Jordan has had with the United States, and King Abdullah was the first Arab leader that is received by Joe Biden. It's a very long-standing relation between Amman and Washington, and the presence and attendance of Her Excellency, the First Lady Jill Biden, is a testimonial to this long-standing relation. And His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, has always accompanied His Majesty King Abdullah's visit to the different through the different visits to the United States, whether it was a bilateral summit with Joe Biden and also visits to meet with the dignitaries and seniors in the American administration or to the Congress. Jill Biden, the American First Lady, His Majesty King Abdullah II and Her Majesty Rania Al Abdullah are heading to the royal porch where the ceremony of the wedding is going to be conducted and the throne, and we are awaiting the arrival of the Prince Bridegroom, and it's only a few minutes before his arrival, and their Majesties are heading through the gardens of Zahran to the royal balcony. And now, His Royal Highness Crown Prince, the Crown Prince Al Hussein bin Abdullah II, and he is wearing a suit that is inspired from the suit His Majesty King Abdullah I wore in his own wedding. And we see here His Royal Highness the Crown Prince heading to the royal porch where the wedding and the marriage contract is to be signed, and the arrival of Miss Rajwa shall be very soon. And maybe the guests and the attendees are already there in place. All of them are already there in place, and His Royal Highness is entering into the royal porch, and the Imam of the Hashemite family is going to be the Sheikh to conduct and to witness the marriage contract. So, Muhammad, you were describing the royal porch and the details therein, and we can see that it is a bit different from what we usually see around the palace when they were receiving and welcoming the guests. Would you please tell us more about this royal porch? Indeed, there's also another thing that I would like to talk about in relation to the suit His Royal Highness is wearing. Yes, we can talk more about the porch and the design, the significant design and the details in this porch. Are quite the decorations and the details are very elegant. Stone columns, do we see that we see? Yes. As we can see in the design of the porch, it is quite elegant with elegant details, arcs and stones that are carved, matching the architectural style of the palace, the Arabic style that is quite congruent with the spirit of the ceremony. We're waiting for the arrival of Miss Rajwa to the majestic palace. As we are watching the different shots from the royal majestic palace, and indeed, as we mentioned earlier, coming from Sweden, Denmark, Qatar, Bhutan, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Rwanda, Malaysia, Belgium, Spain, Brunei, different nationalities coming to Jordan. We welcome them to Jordan and to the majestic palace of Zahran. I would like to talk about the suit of His Royal Highness. The sleeves of this suit is similar and replicates the sleeves of a suit His Majesty King Abdullah II wore, and also King Abdullah I also worn that had worn to his wedding. We're awaiting the arrival of Miss Rajwa Khalid Al-Saif before the formal conclusion of the marriage contract. Guests from country representatives with whom we have strong, long-standing, friendly relations, the royal highnesses, the princes from the Jordanian royal family, and also from the different countries of the world. We saw the First Lady coming from Egypt, and guests coming from Saudi Arabia, from Bahrain, from Kuwait, from Qatar. These countries whose guests and representatives came to celebrate the joyous occasion of the wedding of the prince bridegroom and to convey their best wishes to the royal couple. Tariq and Muhammad, we have not seen this attention only on the local level. We've seen this anticipation on the international level, and now all the guests are there in Zahran Palace, and we are awaiting the arrival of Miss Rajwa Al-Saif for the conclusion of the marriage contract. Miss Rajwa Khalid Al-Saif arrives to Zahran Palace. Miss Rajwa is riding a Rolls-Royce, a model in 1968 that was made for and manufactured for Queen Zain. Miss Rajwa Khalid Al-Saif is now at Zahran Palace, and the military band is playing the military music as she is arriving. His Royal Highness Prince Hashim bin Abdullah the second is also on the car. There were several questions about the car. So the Rolls-Royce that we see now is the make of 1968. And now Her Royal Highness Princess Salma is accompanying the bride. So we are watching the arrival of Miss Rajwa Al-Saif to the majestic palace of Zahran, where the marriage contract is to be concluded in the royal porch of the palace. His Royal Highnesses Prince Hashim, Princess Salma, and we can also see Her Royal Highness Princess Iman. So we're following the arrival of Miss Rajwa along with Prince Hashim, and we can see Princesses Salma and Iman quite attentive to the bride and the gown of the bride. We women actually are keen on such details. And now, at the royal porch, she enters for the conclusion of the marriage contract. In the name of God, thanks to God, most graceful, most gracious, peace be upon Prophet Muhammad, the Arab, the Hashemite. I pray to God that He blesses this gathering. Marriage is one of the most important gifts and blessings of God. It's a ritual of the Islamic religion, a bless that God has bestowed upon His upon man, and God has created spouses that we love and we feel cherished with. God has created from among yourselves spouses, and He created for you children and blessed you with all good blessings, and He created this love and mercifulness amongst you. Prophets and messengers, peace be upon them, have all followed this nature, and God has said, we have bestowed upon the man the bless of marriage and children. Prophet Muhammad says, marry because I would be proud of the children you have. God has given this significant, holy state for marriage. Your Majesty, Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, dignitaries, peace be upon you. It is such a joyous afternoon, full of shine, sunshine. It's a great joy. His Majesty has a great joy. Prince Hussein has, with satisfying and making his parents proud. The happiness, the joy Jordanians have, that we can see reflected on the face of His Royal Highness. Joy that we all share at all Jordanian households. I congratulate the father of Al-Hussein, the apple of his eye, the man he brought up and raised. Al-Hussein, the mother of Hussein, brought up this son who's the man for standing by for the homeland, the descendant of the Hashemites, personable, modest, humble, just taking after his father and his ancestors. We congratulate him for the marriage of Rajwa. Rajwa, the apple of her parents' eye, chosen by His Royal Highness to be his bride. If you allow me, I'll commence the sermon, the rituals. Would you please look at His Royal Highness, address him. I marry you to my daughter Rajwa, following the orders of Quran and the orders of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and based on the dowry that we agreed on. Your Royal Highness, would you address His Excellency, and I accept marrying her, following the orders of the Quran and the orders of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and on the dowry we agreed on. Congratulations. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, We thank God. We pray to you, God, that you bless them with the blessings of Al-Fatiha. Now you can exchange the wedding rings.
سيدي هاشم وستي سلمى إن شاء الله تضلك دائما البهجة.
Congratulations, and I hope that we will also celebrate the marriages of His Royal Highnesses Hashim and Princesses, the Princess Salma, and I would like also to congratulate Her Majesty and also the Jordanians, the in-laws, the parents of the bride. And may God protect all those sharing and joining us our happiness. May God protect you all, and shall this joy last forever. So Prince Al Hussein and Miss Rajwa are receiving the congratulations of their guests in the aftermath of the conclusion of the marriage contract. And we can see the Air Force show celebrating the royal wedding. This is a ceremony and a joy that all Jordanians are celebrating. The joy is there all over the governorates of Jordan. And these ceremonies the ceremonies started with the Imam reciting the holy verses from Quran as the marriage concludes, and now the royal couple are receiving the guests' congratulations, who are greeting the royal couple. A joy that all Jordanians are celebrating on this very special day. So these are scenes broadcasted live from the majestic palace of Zahran. We saw the Imam of the Hashemites who expressed his heartfelt words as he concludes the marriage contract. So we've been following and watching these live broadcasted scenes from the majestic palace of Basma and of Zahran and Nasim al-Ragad and Nasim al-Ragad and our colleagues from the different governorates. You're there in the area between the fifth circle and sixth circle. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you can see that people here are enjoying the happiness and the joy of the marriage of His Royal Highness. We can see that Jordanians from the south to the north are celebrating, enjoying the festivities of the occasion. And we shall see the Jordanian celebrations. Hi. Today, we come here from the different governorates in Jordan to share the festivities of the wedding of His Royal Highness. This is a joy that we're all sharing with the King and the Queen, wishing the royal couple a happy life. I'm so happy. Alhamdulillah, thank God. Congratulations. we can see all the festivities and the joy of people celebrating the wedding of His Royal Highness Al-Hussein, the grandson of Al-Hussein. And we shall also be here after the arrival of the red procession through this road. Thank you very much, Raad Al-Ragad. We saw also the happiness of the citizens throughout the governorates of Jordan, the songs and the music and the dabkas. We've seen this, we've been waiting for this day, and everybody is very happy at the day. And we saw the happiness that all are sharing. Indeed, this is a very exceptional, historic day for everyone. We saw the broadcast of scenes where we saw Jordanians, guests, and everybody wishing to see this procession and this joy firsthand. So this was Raad Al-Ragad who broadcasted the joy we saw on streets. Rami bin Isa, I would say that he is from the area, he's speaking to us from Duwar al-Sha'b. May you share the details? Obviously he's not ready yet, it's okay. Okay, Rami is ready. Share with us the details. I would like to welcome you. The royal couple are receiving the congratulations and the greetings of the guests coming from friendly countries. Yeah, we saw the Jordanians standing by the road waiting for the red procession to wave His Royal Highness and greet him. And now we shall go to Zahran Palace to see the guests greeting the royal couple. So the guests greeting the royal couple. So the marriage contract that was concluded with the witnesses. One witness to the contract was Prince Al-Hassan, who was also a witness to the marriage contract of Their Majesties King Abdullah II and Queen Rania. This has a symbolism, and we can also see how the guests are greeting and congratulating the royal couple, the guests admiring and appreciating, admiring Jordan, and who also speak of the greatness of His Majesty the King. This is a live broadcast, and a broadcast that is shared internationally. So these delegates, guests, sharing the joy and happiness the Jordanians feel, and this is a testimonial to the strong relations, long-standing relations Jordan has with countries of the world. So we can see how these guests have been welcomed by His Majesty King Abdullah II and Her Majesty Queen Rania, and this is evidence to the long-standing relation, historic long-standing relations between Jordan and these countries. Indeed, we're not only talking about Arab and non-Arab countries, we also talk about Arab countries, we also talk about United Kingdom, Malaysia, Brunei, USA. Several countries are here, Sweden, Denmark, and we've also seen His Royal Highness the Crown Prince accompanying His Majesty in several visits, and this is evidence to the trust His Majesty has in the strength of these and the importance of these relations. This comes from the love and the bond His Majesty has, and His Majesty and the people of Jordan have. All people of Jordan are celebrating the wedding of Al-Hussein in every city, in every town, in the desert, and in every village. One would wonder, about this love all people have for His Majesty King Abdullah. The songs of the women answer these questions, and the love and the joy people have. He's the friend and the brother, the son and the companion, the king who has been there with his people in every place. He never misses a chance to meet his comrades in the arm. You can see how he welcomes the future and heads to a better future. He visits the people of Jordan. He works with them, and hand by hand he works with them, and they plant the land of hope. He is the son of this land. The land and the people love him. And now the joy is seen in the songs and on the faces of all Jordanians. Anyone meeting Prince Hussein says that he always remembers all people he meets, and maybe this is why all who met the prince loves him. Some of us have been lucky and met him, and some of us saw him in photos and videos. Yusuf Allan, the photographer of His Majesty, shall tell us more stories. My name is Yusra Allan. I'm the photographer of His Majesty. I started my career with His Majesty when he chose me in 2001. This is a photo of His Royal Highness Hussein. He was 6 years old. We were on the plane, and I entered into the wing of His Majesty. He was watching Tom Cruise film, and I took this shot for him. This was in Moscow. His Majesty was visiting Moscow, and then he had this flight to the Kremlin. We were with him, and then he called me to take a photo for him with Prince Hussein. He asked me for it, and I think he has it in his office. And this is when His Royal Highness graduated from King's Academy. I took this photo after he received his certificate. This was the first time when Prince Hussein was assigned as the vice king, and he had to take the oath and swear before the Ministers' Council, and I took this photo. This was after he got his license to fly Black Hawk, and that was him flying it. That was on the army, on the day marking the celebration of the army. He noticed that the button of the suit of His Majesty was not fixed, so he fixed it for him. This is Biden. His Majesty was meeting with Mr. Biden, and the room was not well lit, and therefore Biden stood in order to open the curtains. Then Sidi Hussein went up to help him open the curtain, and he tapped his shoulder, saying thank you. The royal guards called me, saying that at 8 I had to be at the crossing, and then I realized that it was the day where he was promoted into a captain, and the surprise was that His Majesty is going to decorate him. And not knowing, we realized that it was the day of his promotion. This was me and and His Royal Highness in Aqaba. Everyone was asking him for a photo with him. And when we finished, he told me, "Won't you take a photo?" And I said, "Well, that would be my honor." And we took that photo. I want to congratulate His Royal Highness Prince Hussein and Ms. Rajwa. This is a joy that we all have, the Jordanians, the Arab countries, the whole world. I've been waiting for 20 years. I've been anticipating the day when we celebrate the Prince bridegroom. So the royal decree was issued to style Ms. Rajwa bint Khalid Al Saif as Her Royal Highness Princess Rajwat Al Hussein on the occasion of marrying Prince Al Hussein, the Crown Prince. May God bless him. We congratulate Her Royal Highness Princess Rajwat Al Hussein. Congratulations to Her Royal Highness Rajwat Al Hussein. Significant plannings were in place before this occasion. It is an exceptional day. Today, Jordan celebrates the night of Jordan and celebrates this day. They built the porches where they're to celebrate, and they planted the flowers. And raised the pride of rifles and rehearsed the beautiful songs. And that was alongside the preparations for the wedding. The Public Security Department prepared and arranged for the recipients for receiving the procession, and the municipality decorated the capital to beautify the city. The sky was also decorated with the joy of the Jordanians. Where they decorate the sky with the rays of their happiness and their songs. And chanted their songs, echoing the beauty of their harmony. Proud of the love they have for the homeland. This joy, that Jordanians have for their brother, the prince bridegroom. This happiness and this joy was created by the Jordanian hands, the celebration that we saw, and there was lots of rehearsing to prepare for this, to make sure that the wedding is at the level that we've seen. We shall talk more about these details, and we have with us the Deputy Director of the Royal Protocols, Mr. Mazen Lahmoud. A question that the people have is, how does the planning for such a wedding takes place? A quick answer to your question. After I've seen over the past 2 days, it would be hard to answer your question. Over the several months, the world witnessed several occasions on royal levels, and these occasions were seen and anticipated by the whole world, and everybody said that these countries are the ones who through such ceremonies at the highest levels. Indeed, that is true according to their protocols, historic protocols, weddings and these joyous ceremonies, such as the wedding of Prince Al-Hussein and Princess Rajwa is quite special. I've seen nothing like it. Not only the arrangements, the symbolism of things, the values that we see among the royal family, and the implementation that we saw is a whole other thing. The issue, in any wedding, in any occasion, be it a wedding or a state-related formalities, there are values that need to be exhibited, and it is the role of the protocol the royal court makes sure to have this exhibited. Everything is about showing that this is a Jordanian wedding. What happened in the wedding, the different rituals of it are those rituals that are followed by all Jordanians. The Jaha, when the royal family proposed the henna party, where Her Majesty invited all Jordanians, as many of them as possible, to share the joy. The dinner party, the shower party, which is quite a traditional Jordanian custom and norm. All Jordanians were engaged. Everybody had a role in this wedding. A great effort in order to have these values translated, which all convey these values, deep values. The speech of His Majesty yesterday is also evidence to that. The highlight of that was when he addressed the prince, telling him, one thing I want you to have always in heart, fear of God. And it was not a message only to the prince, it was a message to all Jordanians. Before we talk about the details of the arrangements and the planning, let's go now to watch the broadcast from Duwar Sha'ab. Rami, over to you. I would like to welcome all the colleagues and the viewers from all governorates of Jordan and the countries of the world. More than 70,000 people and citizens are here, and now we shall interview one of them. What do you say on this occasion? This is the joy of Jordanians from the east to the west. This is the wedding, the royal wedding, the joy of their majesties. This is the joy of the Arabs. I congratulate the royal couple. May God bless their marriage and give them all the love and great children. I thank you very much. And now the Jordanians await the red procession that shall pass through this road from Al-Zahran to Al-Husseiniya Palace. And now we shall interview one of the women with us here. How do you feel about waiting for the red procession? I would like to congratulate the royal family, and we are anticipating the red procession. So the heartfelt greetings and congratulations from the people of Jordan. The heartfelt congratulations to the royal couple. We've been talking about the planning, the arrangements. Well, among the majestic ceremonies is the protocols, but we shall talk about the royal protocol unit and the knights of the royal guards. How have these guards prepared for this, for the wedding ceremonies? Horses have always been the symbol of strength and beauty. And just like all the details of the royal wedding, the horses represent the values of courage and beauty. So they show their magnitude, and the knights actually take care of all the details, taking care of the horses, their preparedness and their appearance, grooming them, decorating them with red, representing the bloods of martyrs, and wearing the shmagh, the Jordanian legacy, from the Jordanian legacy. They walk in parades with their colleagues from other institutions, the honor guards, along with other guards, to add to the magnitude of the majestic nature of the wedding. The joy and the festivities shall continue. And Mr. Mazen, we've been talking about these arrangements. The honor guard, of course, they need lots of work and lots of planning. Tell us about the details. just like we said in the beginning, the values that will be translated in royal weddings, the way we've always worked. We heard from Her Majesty that Prince Hussein wanted to have a Jordanian wedding, and the order was for the protocol, ask the couple what type of wedding they wanted, and then when the order was given, and then a person was hired to be in charge of the whole program, and then a meeting would be made with the couple in order to ask for their requests and to share what they have on mind. I just had this notebook. Now we have smartphones. What we did in the past was to use this notepad. So now life is different, and we have smartphones and computers. This program is written and then sent to His Majesty to read them, and then the program is eventually agreed on as to what things are going to happen. You see that there was a marriage contract conclusion, and then the reception, and then during the wedding of Her Royal Highness Princess Iman, it was a bit different from this, because back then His Majesty had a different, that was the choice of the couple. You see, these are formal rituals, and there will be other time where the royal couple celebrate with their friends and colleagues and classmates. As we have been anticipating the wedding of His Royal Highness, we've seen photos from the wedding of His Majesty the King. So there must have been details that we'd love to learn about them. Unfortunately, I only joined the planning, but not the occasion itself. I was in Washington preparing for the first visit of His Majesty's visit with Clinton, and I was not able to attend the wedding. However, one of the most important things that we as protocol saw was one of the most important things that we prepared for is the cake show, of course, because he was part of the forces. The plan was for cutting the cake was to be the sword was to be brought by a parachuter. We also see here Prince Faisal escorting Her Majesty, just like we've seen with Prince Hashim. These are royal protocols. So the sword that was used to cut the cake should be brought by a parachuter who would land over the stage, no matter how big. This is a narrow area, especially at night. So for us at the protocol department, everything was well prepared and well planned. However, the important thing for us was for the parachuter to land safely, accurately on the spot designated, and we were all happy at that. Of course, in such occasions, there will always be moments when everybody wants them to pass safely and correctly. We said that the royal weddings come from the heart of the Jordanian weddings. However, they are on a other level. They have to be. We're always bound by the Jordanian constitutions. Yes, there's protocol, but at the end, it is the constitution that governs everything. In the first paragraph, the constitution provides that Jordan is a monarchy, and it talks about the hereditary monarchy, and it provides for the fact that the crown prince should be presented in a manner that fits his duties and his responsibilities. It cannot be different. It has to do with the sovereignty of Jordan, with the royal responsibilities. The crown prince wedding has to be at that level. He must be presented to the world with such image, with this the duty according to the constitution, that the crown prince is presented as such to the world. You always see, in fact, that His Royal Highness accompanies His Majesty. So this is an essential matter. Of course it is. And this is the future of the monarchy in Jordan. When the crown prince selects his bride, this is an event that is not ordinary. In fact, the prince is the representative of His Majesty the King on the level of international fora and national fora, and he needs to be presented the way he is to the world, which is quite significant despite the young age. Indeed, the royal protocol requires so many details, so many challenges indeed, and difficulties. The former head of the royal protocol shares with us some of these challenges. Amir al-Fayez, the former head of the protocol, royal protocol. Preparing for a royal wedding requires a lot of protocol, and as you see, there are guests from abroad coming to attend the wedding, leaders of friendly countries, royal family members come to attend the wedding, and on the other hand, there are the protocols that are followed to prepare for the wedding. There are important details in this wedding, which is the marriage contract conclusion. First, the place, the venue where this happened, it is in Zahran Palace because it has its significance. You see, all weddings of the royal family were thrown at this palace. This is where His Majesty the King actually had his wedding. So this is the tradition for a wedding to be, a royal wedding to be held in the backyard of the majestic palace of Zahran. The Red procession as well is a very important thing that has its symbolic meaning. So this is the wedding of a Hashemite prince. the Crown Prince. This is a national occasion par excellence. At the wedding, back at the wedding of His Majesty, I was just assigned in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we were requested to help in the preparations. We prepared for receiving and welcoming the guests. That was a very simple reception, and many from abroad, many guests from royal families abroad and dignitaries attended. That was a simple reception, and then there was a dinner celebration at the Hashemite Palace. It is really a pleasure to speak at in this occasion for many reasons, including the fact that I attended the graduation of His Royal Highness from high school. I also attended the graduation of His Royal Highness from Sandhurst and his graduation from Georgetown University. And I'm so happy at this occasion. Indeed, this is a national joy that we all share, and I congratulate them and wish them all happiness. So this was the former protocol director. So talking about the red procession has its specificity and how it's used, how it runs, and it has its symbolic meaning. And now we are minutes before this procession moves. Yes, I would like to say that the military rituals and protocols in general are one of the best in the world. The Jordanian army protocol and rituals have their meanings and symbolism. You see, the red procession is one of the things that, and the protocols of the military, and it is part of the honor guards under the royal guards of His Majesty. The idea of the red procession is dates back to the time of Emirates. Back then, they used horses rather than cars. Now, then they started to use cars. They had to use jeeps. Back then, jeeps looked very much like the ones we have now. And this tradition to have the red procession continued, and the red procession is used in sovereign occasions. For example, most importantly, when the parliament session is inaugurated, we see the red procession on that day. And when the honor guard prepares for the details, they would shine the brass and the mast and the flag mast, and so the ones who prepare for this are the officers of the honor guard. The red procession can only move and move upon the order of His Majesty the King. If a guest is coming and to Jordan and His Majesty wants to give him a special welcome, then the red procession will escort the guest from the point of arrival along with His Majesty the King to his place of accommodation. So the red procession may be used when a state visit is made by a representative of a country. So this is only used in sovereign events and occasions. Of course, the wedding of His Royal Highness may be considered as a sovereign event. This is, after all, the Crown Prince of Jordan. We can see the preparations for the launch of the red procession. How is the red procession used? I mean, the significance of this red procession in this wedding, like I said, the whole event is on the level of Jordan, the world, and the region. His Royal Highness is the Crown Prince. May long live the King. He is the future, and he represents the King. And everything we saw is a translation for that. The meaning and the symbolism is very clear. So the cavalry are to escort this procession. The cavalry being there in the red procession are also traditions for the red processions and part of the protocol and part of the legacy in Jordan. Indeed, the red procession, as you mentioned, even in sovereign events, the other meaning of that is the the history and the present. So while we follow up with the development that is taking place in the world, we also have these elements from the historic legacy. The idea of that is the idea of the red procession. The premise of it is the cavalry. So, of course, you cannot move without vehicles. So this is a symbol of the past and the present of the Jordanian legacy. So as the world is watching, the media outlets are also following this event and are watching this procession escorting the royal couple. The messages that are given by this, and now we shall see the launch of the red procession as the royal couple ride the car. This is a Range Rover, the make of 1984, used by His Majesty King Hussein in a visit to Petra, and we see Her Royal Highness Rajwat Al Hussein, and this car is one exhibit at the Royal Vehicle Cars, and it was and now it's put in operation and refurbished for the use at the royal wedding. Many people were wondering what car and what vehicle they'd be riding. Is there a protocol for the selection of the vehicle to be ridden by the royal couple? Well, that would be upon the will and the wish of the prince or the king. The point is that it should allow the royal couple to see the people standing by the streets to greet them. It has to be a converter. Yes, now we see the royal couple in the royal procession. most beautiful scene of the procession. Indeed, there's a symbol for every element that we've seen. Yes, as we follow the scenes of the Red Procession, and we saw formation for the Jordanian flag. These things shall always be in the memories of Jordanians. The Crown Prince, yes, maybe this is one of the surprises. The beautiful formation of the Jordanian flag, and the bread procession represented the star of the flag. The crowds cheering and greeting the royal couple.